And welcome back to another live check-in. Hey, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode, and I am right at the brink of 72 hours. That's 72 hours in this week's fast. We started on Tuesday, right around this time, and we are now 72 hours into this fast. We're about to get into it. We're going to talk about fasting. How do you prepare for a fast? How do you get through a fast? And then, of course, how do you break a fast? One of the things that we are spending time talking about this week is how we fuel our body in the times when we're not fasting. And we'll get into that. You'll get to see here in a minute what I'm going to eat to break my fast. And we'll take a look at my monitors. I've got my Keto Mojo, I've got my Dexcom Clarity, I've got my report, which you'll see right down below me. Let me get rid of this thing right here. Oh, right, there you go. And you'll see my report right down below me. And we'll have a good time talking about this. If you have been joining us, if you've been with us through the course of this week, you know this has been an amazing week as we've been discussing really one of the pillars of what we are calling the health action plan. And that is the blueprint of what we need to do to reverse our diabetes. What we need to do to improve our metabolic health, to help with all of those downstream problems that come from dysfunctional metabolism, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver, obesity, metabolic syndrome, polycystic ovarian syndrome. We can go on and on and on and on, but that is what we're doing. I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes and put themselves in a position to get off of medications and improve their health. Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted, and we're living limitless lives, which says that we're not allowing anything from outside of us or anything from inside to prevent us from doing what we need to do. We are presenting our best self, our best health, and the best plans for our lives. Yeah. Once again, if you're new, go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music. And let you know that I am glad that you're here. If you do have questions as we move throughout the episode, go ahead and drop those in the comments because we want to make sure that we get to those. Also, if you have not been following us on the channel with our strength training, which we're doing in the morning, every morning at 6 a.m., we're on day, what day are we on today? Day number 34, I believe. Yes, day 34. Strength, strategy, and mindset, which we're doing some weight training. If you've been with us, if you've not been with us for the 100-day walk to consistency, which started over 40 days now ago, you want to make sure you go back and watch that series, catch up with us, but you can start where you are. If you are one of those people that has been joining us this week in the fasting, we'll talk to you in a minute, but kudos to you. And here we are at the conclusion of our 72-hour fast, and just so excited that we are here in this space. We'll pull up for you a little while later and show you some of the episodes from our strength training, because that is a fascinating process that we're going through right now. So make sure that you get out there and you watch it. Okay. Now let's go ahead and let's take a look at. We're going to take a look at our blood sugars and what my monitors are saying. Let's go ahead and do that now. So here you'll see this is my Freestyle Libre, which is, we're looking at this, see this graph right here. Up above, of course, is what the blood sugar is right now, 77. And down below, you'll see what my blood sugar has been over the course of the last 12 hours or so, right, from midnight to about now. And you'll see, we'll take a look at when we look at the Dexcom Clarity, but for most of this morning, starting at midnight, my blood sugars have been in the red, and that is indicating that it was below 70. And then you'll see right there, right around 7-ish, I woke up a little later today, right around 7-ish, 7:30, you'll see a spike, and we'll look at that number. And that's what I call the toothpaste effect, right? So you brush your teeth, toothpaste has sugar in it, yeah. And so I get a little spike in my blood sugar. And I am... that was one I have not been able to figure out how to deal with, other than getting a different toothpaste, and I've tried some of the yeah, anyway, there it is. All right, let's take a look and let's go. Actually, I'll come back to that in a minute. So that is where my blood sugar is right now. What I'm doing is pulling up my my Dexcom, and this is a G7 that you'll see here in just a minute. Where is it? There it is. And so right now my Dexcom says that my blood sugar is 93. Okay, so blood sugar is 93, and you'll see once again a similar graph right about here. So average up here at 93, and then similar graph right around here. And that graph is showing that for most of today, my blood sugars have been running right at or about 100. So let's go ahead and I'm going to put my finger there so you can actually see what those numbers are. Right, so starting there, 82, 70s and 80s, 70s and 80s, 70s and 80s, 70s and 80s, and I think it doesn't actually get above 90 until what I call the toothpaste effect, right? So 70s and 80s, 70s and 80s, 70s and 80s, and then right around there, we start to see a climb. So 80, 70, oh, maybe not. Oh, wow, yeah, there you go. So right there. So right at about 730. 747, 752, yep, 752. From there, it popped up right above 90, and it kind of stayed in the 90s. If I were continuing the fast, that would go down, but we're going to end the fast here in just a few minutes so you can see what I am doing, okay? So that's what's been going on there. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at actual blood sugars on my monitors. Let me go ahead and pull that up. And so here is my... and I'm actually going to do two things, so give me just a second. I am going to actually pull up or go and grab another set of strips. Because, well, let's do it this way. We'll maybe do that depending on what this shows. All right, so here in my handy dandy container, I've got some my strips for the Keto Mojo. These are ketone strips, and of course, blood sugar strips. And let's go ahead and grab a lancet. And then here is these are the strips for the contour. All right, let's go ahead and get that started. Put that in. I'm going to open up. This is the blood sugar for the Keto Mojo. Boom, boom, boom. Get that in. And of course, grabbing my, here's my lancet, and you'll see the little needle there. And I'm going to use the same finger. Now this is what happens to me. I tend to use the same finger all the time, and then that finger becomes, ow, that hurt. Become calloused. All right, so that's a good brisk drop of blood that we have. So I'm going to put that on here. Well, maybe. Well, that didn't quite work the way I thought. All right, there we go. That one gets started. Get another drop for the contour. All right, and we'll see what does. So 80 blood sugar for the Keto Mojo, and let's go ahead and get this back up. And 93 for the contour, and then of course right there you'll see what the Dexcom says. And let's go ahead and open up the strip for the ketones and get that in. And I think I still have a pretty good flow of blood, so let's go ahead and get that started before it dries. All right, get that going. All right, so what do you think my ketones are going to be? All right, and so while that's going, we're going to go ahead and jump over. So 1.2, okay, I like that. Much better than the numbers that we got yesterday. Remember, at 56 hours, I think it said that it was 0.1 or something like that. Okay, and that's what I was saying. If this didn't turn out the way I thought it was, I was going to go get, because I have two sets of strips, and I think this is from that batch that we were having trouble with a little while ago. All right, so let's go ahead and let's go to our monitor or our Dexcom Clarity, and here is what's been going on with my blood sugars over the last little bit. Right now, my average blood sugar is 109, and this is an average for 14 days. My glucose management indicator is 5.9. That means if I were to get an A1C based on these blood sugars that I've had over the last 2 weeks, my A1C would approximate a 5.19. I can't call it an A1C because it's an approximation, it's a calculation, but I would expect it to be similar to that. I am in target 99% of the time, and that target is anywhere from 70 to 180. Notice the range is much wider. I usually tell my patients that I want their blood sugars to be between 100 and 120 if they're on medication. If they're not on medication, then we drive that lower, right? Because normal blood sugar, let me say this to everybody, normal blood sugar is anywhere from 70 to 99. If you look at the criteria for pre-diabetes and diabetes, diabetes is, or pre-diabetes is anywhere from 100 to 125 blood sugar. So that means normal is below 100, which is 99. And then diabetes starts at 126 and above, okay? So just so you have those numbers. I don't think we say that often enough. And if I look at my 90-day average, my average blood sugar there is 110 with a glucose management indicator, which is the same, 5.9. And I'm in target 96% of the time, target once again being 70 to 180. And then let's go ahead and look at my daily graphs. And what I want to do is I want to start back here when we started fasting. And so that was right at about 72 hours ago. Let's make sure, yeah, about 71 and a bit. All right, it's going to be 72 here in just a minute. So 96 was what my blood sugar was. And if you saw our video when we went live, the pop-up, and you saw the meal that I ate, right, to end my eating window, getting into the fast, you'll see here that whatever I ate caused a little spike in the blood sugar. I think it got up to about 120, 117 was the highest, and then continued to go down, 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 down for the rest of that day. And then the next day kind of stayed in the upper 80s to low 90s until the toothpaste effect, which popped me up to about 119, and then started coming back down, 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 down for the rest of that day. So this is now Wednesday. All right, so that's 24 hours right here. And then if we get to 48 hours, right, so notice the blood sugar is 70s and 80s, 70s, 80s, low 90s, 70s, 80s, low 90s. Right here is the toothpaste effect, which pops up to about 104. And then 70s and 80s, 70s and 80s. Actually, yesterday afternoon, I spent a lot of time right at about 70, and my freestyle actually was saying that I was in the 60s. A couple of times dropped down into the 50s. And then, of course, where we are today, 70s and 80s, 70s and 80s. And then right about here, we'll see that spike again, up to about 100 maybe. Actually, I didn't have as big a spike, so up to 90. And I think that was because I started out with much lower numbers, right? So when it spiked up, it actually didn't quite make it above 100. And then where we are now, kind of riding right below 100. Okay, and so here we are, right at about 72 hours. And so that's what's been happening over the course of the last several days with blood sugars. I go through this, and I want to show you that because that shows you the benefit of the fasting, right? It shows you what blood sugars can be. Now, I want you to imagine that if you don't have diabetes, right? And this is a question that people have. If they don't have diabetes, they say, well, this is not an issue for me. Well, your blood sugars still are changing, right? Based on what you eat. And so pre-diabetes, which is what the blood sugars that are higher than normal, but not quite high enough to be considered diabetes. That's that 100 to 125 blood sugar. Those blood sugars still fluctuate. So the food that we eat has an effect. So if your blood sugar is at 125, right, and it's supposed to be 99, then adjusting the things that you eat, and we'll make a point about this here in a minute, adjusting the things you eat also have benefit for you, even if you're not diabetic. So sometimes I'll talk to people and say, hey, if you're interested in metabolism, if you're interested in losing weight, if you're interested in improving blood pressure and cholesterol and all of those, then you should monitor your blood sugar. And people will say, well, I'm not diabetic. I say, well, I'm not talking about diabetes. I'm talking about how the food is affecting your body. And then you can make changes based on what you're seeing on those monitors. That's why I love the ability that we have now to be able to look at blood sugars, because it's such a integral part of making decisions, right, for what we do. All right, so now let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's say hello. I see some of our community members out there, and let's see, say hello to you. And I think I see Pamela out there. Hey, Pamela saying hello. Let's go ahead and get this back. Oh, there she is. Hello, Pamela says hello. Steve, hey, says hello, Pam. Cornelia saying hello to everyone. And Pam says, hey, Steve and Cornelia. Just love the fact that the community is out there. Wherever you're joining us from, whether it's Instagram or LinkedIn or Twitch or YouTube, of course here, and then of course on Facebook, we want to welcome you to the space as well. Okay, thank you for coming through and hanging out with us. All right, so let's go ahead and let's. Well, let me do this. I'm going to take these things off the table, and then let's take a look at what I'm going to eat. All right, so let's take a look at this. Let's pop this one up. All right, so what I have here is a salad, and you guys know me well enough now to know that most of the time I'm going to have some salad here. And the reason I do the salad is because the salad gives me the bulk and gives me fiber. Right, it gives me bulk and it gives me fiber. So as we're talking about what we're eating in our non-eating window, this is a good base. Now people say, well, I'm tired of eating salads. Well, that makes sense, and I get it, but I'm not just eating salads, right? It is a part of my meal, and so the base, the fiber part of that is going to be salad, and then I'll put all kinds of other stuff on it, right? So I've got a salad there, and in the salad there is, I've got that, of course, cheese, right? So I've got some protein and some fat. I've got, what is it? Got lettuce. I don't have any tomatoes in here right now. I've got some red cabbage, which you'll see right there. I've got carrots, shredded carrots, and I got some radishes in there. Of course, different types of lettuce, romaine, lettuce. And so I created this, and then of course I have some salad dressing that's on here, right? So that gives me the bulk. That gives me the full feeling, that fills the stomach, it causes the stretch, it causes a signal to go to my brain that says, hey, I'm full, all of those things. The fiber, of course, blunts the absorption of sugar and carbs. And then over here, I have avocados, and that gives me fat, gives me some protein. And then I have tofu. Now, you've not seen me eat tofu to break a fast yet, but tofu is a wonderful option to be able to do that. If you've not done so, go back on the channel and you'll see, let me move it over this way. If you go back on the channel, then you'll see some of the episodes where I actually did some cooking. It's called Cooking with Dr. Woode, and we cooked some tofu. We've not done that recently. We'll come back and do some more of those, but that will help you see how I cook the tofu. Now, we do a lot of tofu in our house. We do a lot of avocados. We do a lot of salad. We do a lot of cheese. I'm a cheeseaholic. And I eat a lot of cheese because the cheese helps me maintain good glycemic control, that is blood sugars, without causing those big spikes that we'll talk about here in a minute. Okay, so that's what I do. All right. So while I am doing that, we're gonna go ahead and I'm going to start eating. Yay! Yes. All right, 72 hours. Right. So couple points for those of you who are out there. If you joined us from Tuesday to Wednesday First 24 hours. So we did 3 days, right? So 72 hours. 24 hours, then 48 hours, then 72 hours, which is what we're doing. So if you joined us starting on Tuesday to today, Tuesday to Wednesday, and you fasted for 24 hours, I want you to put a 1 in the comments. If you did from Wednesday to Thursday, right, so Wednesday to yesterday, I want you to put a 2. That's the second day. And then if you started yesterday and you are ending your fast today, I want you to put a 3, right? 1, 2, or 3. Either you did the first day with us, or the second day with us, or you did the third day with us. Or if you did the entire thing, right? If you did the entire 72 hours or something beyond, let me do it this way. If you did something beyond or 48 hours or beyond, I want you to put a T. Right? So T for, right? For 2. For more than 48. Yeah. So 1 for the first day, 2 for the second day, 3 for the third day, and then if you did multiple days, let me say it that way, put a T. Right? Multiple days, you did a T. So yay. Just always excited about that. Okay? All right. Let me do one thing here really quickly. And I see another one of our community members just popped in. Give me a second to make one adjustment here. Just a minute. And one of the things that we're always excited about is when we talk about when we have community, because community is very important to us. It is a part of our platform that says, hey, we're not just doing this alone. We're actually doing this in a group, and we are doing our best. We're setting ourselves up for the best possibility of success when we can do that, when we're in community. Okay, this is not quite working the way I thought it was going to go. Okay, so that's why we're live. All right, yeah, so let me go back here and say hello to one of our community members. And actually, I'm going to pop up some comments because I see some people putting some numbers. So Anthony, hey, Anthony, what's up? Hello, folks. How are you? And Anthony said he did day number 2. So that's Wednesday to Thursday. Kudos to you, Anthony. All right, and then Pamela also says day number 2. I love it. And Anthony says, I survived 27. Wait, you get a hand clap and some music, Anthony. All right. And so Anthony, I'm gonna pick on you for a minute. So Anthony, I think it was Tuesday when we did our pop-up live, that Anthony said that he was thinking about it or hadn't done it yet. And so there you are, Anthony. Man, kudos to you that you jumped in. And he said, I survived 27 hours. So Anthony, I'm going to pick on you again. I want you to put in the comment. What was the most surprising thing to you? Right? What was the most surprising thing to you? And then Cornelia says, I ended up doing OMAD, so 1 meal a day for 2 days. Yes, I love that, Cornelia. And then Pamela saying, hi, Anthony. I took the overnight to begin route. Okay, yes. So Anthony, what he's saying is that when we go to sleep, right, that's automatically some hours of right that we could count to the fast. So I love starting in the evening because when I wake up in the morning, I'm already whatever number of hours into the fast. So that's a great way to do it, a great way to think about it, because it doesn't take any extra time because we're going to be sleeping anyway. Okay, and this is also a great reason to go to sleep earlier, right? Because when you go to sleep earlier, now you've extended the quote-unquote fasting period, and you don't have to worry about this food noise, because food noise is one of those things that we talk about quite a bit in our community, because food noise can be incredible if you're not careful. It can push you. As we talked about, I think we talked about this yesterday. Yeah, we talked about it yesterday on our show. Someone was commenting about the food noise, and it can be very interesting for us. All right, so let's go ahead and so Anthony, I do see your comment there. I'm going to come to that in just a minute. Interesting here. Give me just a second, guys. All right, so here we are. And one of the fun things about one of the fun things about what I do, and fun things about being alive, is that there are times when you're trying to do something, and it shows up very interestingly, and that's what's going on right now. Okay, all right. So here we go. We're gonna go back here, and I think that'll work. Okay. All right, so yeah, so let me go back to Anthony's comment, and Anthony says, the first 24 hours wasn't difficult. I had to stop at the grocery store, and that got me. He says, unfortunately, I'm a night owl, learning not to eat at night. Yeah. So one of when we talk about the heat model, habits, emotions, access, and taste, is this idea that that lots of things cause it, right? So the habits that we go through, and that falls into line partially with the comments you're making about being up late. So there are things that we've done for so long that they're just a normal part of us. We're up late, and so what do? We eat. We're bored, we eat. We're frustrated, we eat. We're tired, we eat. We're working on a project, and the project is not going quite as we thought it was going to go, and guess what we do? We eat, right? So all those things will happen to us, and if we're not careful, then we kind of fall into those habits again. And then emotions, and of course having food around. And if you're like me, if you're up, sometimes I'm here working and I get up to go to the bathroom or get up to go do something or get something, and mindlessly I pass through the kitchen, and because that's what I normally do. So all right, so let's go ahead and let's hop into our discussion for today. And we're talking once again about about fasting, and you're going to see here coming up our health action plan, because that's a big component of what we're doing in our discussion. All right, so let's go ahead and let's set the premise for our discussion. And so we are in the process of reversing diabetes. I say at the top of the show, hey, I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes. Then I quickly go on to say, it is for people who are interested in metabolic health. And metabolism is the body's ability to convert food into energy. And the dysfunction within that is what causes the problem for us. Okay? It is the dysfunction in our metabolism that sets us up for all of the downstream problems that we run into: high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and we go through that list, right? Polycystic ovarian syndrome, obesity, so on and so on and so forth. And so if we can correct the metabolism, if we can right the metabolism, then we are setting ourselves up for better success when it comes to our health. All of those diseases are diseases along the spectrum from, and I don't want to name one at the beginning, but ultimately, right, we're talking about all of the things that we talk about when we talk about chronic disease. Of course, the one that everybody knows about is when we talk about diabetes. But if your risk factor predisposes you to heart disease, or predisposes you to high blood pressure or high cholesterol or fatty liver or obesity, that is along the spectrum. Now, we talk a lot about diabetes because there are a lot of people, there are 37 million, actually 38, almost 38 now, million people in the United States, and over 500 million people on the planet that have diabetes. And then another over 500 million that are going towards diabetes and are called pre-diabetes. And I'm going to when I give those numbers, I'm going to start giving the numbers for heart disease and stroke and all those things. But diabetes is the big bulk of those people. And so if we can right metabolism, all of those downstream things get better. And the Health Action Plan, as you saw, is a blueprint for reversing, improving, and righting our metabolism. Let me say that again. It is a blueprint. Why is that important? And why do I want to say that? I want to say that because I was actually talking to my wife a little while ago. We go walking, and we do a check-in with each other, how are things going. And so I made a comment about some of the things that I was doing and some of the plans that I have in place. And so she says to me, interestingly enough, and my wife does weight management, she says, a lot of times we have a plan for our finances. We have a plan for our job, for our careers, for children, for buying a house. We have a plan. We have a plan for everything, but we kind of try to wing it sometimes when it comes to our health. And I thought about that. And I said, that is true. And that is the benefit of the Health Action Plan. Because it says we're not winging it anymore. There are some practical, doable things that we have access to that if we follow it, it will give us benefit. Years ago, I read a book, and I've talked about it on this. It's called The Compound Effect. And the compound effect is written with the idea that when you start out doing something, initially, you don't see a lot of benefits. You don't see the big changes that you thought you were going to see. There are small steps. It's for instance, saving money. And they give the example, if I come to someone and say, hey, I'm going to give you $500,000 today, or I'll give you one penny, right, that I'll double every day for the next 30 days, which one would you take? And most people say, I'll take the $500,000. But if you sit down and you calculate, one penny doubled over every day for 30 days actually turns out to be over $1 million. But you would not think that if you look at the penny. And how does that happen? It is because there is consistency, there's a plan, there is something that says, hey, I am going to do this consistently over time. I've got a checklist, I've got a plan to do this, and if I do it consistently, then I get the benefit. And so the Health Action Plan is with that idea, that there is benefit to having a structured way of doing things, okay? That's the whole idea. And so one of the components of that has been fasting, and we do a fast every week. As you saw, many of our community members are fasting with us. We do a fast every week, and I have tasked people, I've commissioned people, I have encouraged people, I've recommended to people that once a week that everybody can do at least a 24-hour fast. We're working our way to a 24-hour fast. Now, that is the basis. That's the basic, right? There are other things that will happen in our lives. There are other metabolic issues that we have. Where doing a longer fast may also be beneficial. I do a 72-hour fast. And the reason I do a 72-hour fast is I find that it is the fasting method that works best for me to right the metabolism that I have. I have, for years, struggled with weight and blood sugars. I've struggled with metabolic disease for years. And so there are some things in my history, there are some things in my metabolism that a 16-8 won't correct right now. And I had to correct things drastically. And so I do a more extended fast. But the benefits that come from fasting begin with any of the fastings that we do, and we usually say a 16-8 is kind of the base where people start working their way up to a 24-hour fast. And so we've introduced the health action plan. The tier 1s was walking and fasting. Tier 2 is strength training, and then of course balanced bites. So let's go through that. So walking is that rhythm. It gets us into the habit of doing something for our health. It also gets our blood flowing, increases our heart rate. It gets us into the rhythm. It gets our body ready to know that we are taking time on a daily basis to do something for our health. That's the walking. The fasting resets the system, as we've talked about, and we'll mention some more about that here today. Fasting resets the system and gets it ready. It's kind of like getting a house or getting a building and gutting the house and getting it ready for what you want to do with it. So that's fasting. Fasting guts the house. It takes out all the way trash. We'll talk some about what goes on. And then the strength training helps us to build the body up, because remember, active muscles, metabolically active muscles, are better for us than muscles that are just kind of hanging out, because they help us to become more insulin sensitive. It helps to burn fat faster and longer, and it helps to get the body in a functional way, because remember, this mechanism, this body, this structure, this organism, this machine is what's going to be taking us through the rest of our lives. So we want to do what we can to get our muscles strong so that it can help us with balance, help us with mobility, help us carry things throughout our lives. It is what we've got. This is the car that we've got. We can't trade it in for something else. So the strength training does that. And then balanced bites, the concept of fueling the body, is now that we've gutted the house, now that we've built up the muscles, now that we're in the routine of doing something for our health, how do I now fuel the body? So balanced bites. And when we put fasting together with the foods that we eat, so fasting in our fasting window and eating in our eating window, when we put those two together, there is a synergistic behavior. There's a synergistic idea that happens, that is not just a diet. It is a framework. It's a way of choosing food that support fat building, fat burning, muscle building, and metabolic healing. Right. So that's the idea that we are talking about, and we're getting into that today. Right. We've been talking about fasting and over the last couple of days, and so that's the continuation of this. Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about what I called the metabolic loop. And we introduced the metabolic loop last night. And it is, the metabolic loop is a way of healing that never stops. Did you get that? Where fasting meets food. As I said, so fasting is the gutting of the house, and the food that we eat is, okay, now let's put some structure there. And those two together are really the sum total of all of our time. So if you're fasting for 24 hours, then for 6 days, so 1 day, 24 hours, then for 6 days, what you're doing is you're eating. And so the question is, if that's the case, what am I putting in? What kind of structures am I building within my body? If you're fasting for longer, 72 hours, for instance, in this case, then 3 days I'm fasting, but 4 days I'm eating. And so what am I putting into the body? What am I putting into the system? And that's the idea of the metabolic loop. Right? So the purpose of the loop is eating so that it becomes a strategic continuation of healing. Let me say it again. The metabolic loop is a concept that our eating is really just a function. It's a continuation of all the things that we're doing in the process of becoming better at our health. It's not about bouncing between, this track and that track. It's not, I'm fasting now, I'm eating now. I'm fasting now, I'm eating now. It is a continuation. It's about establishing a biological rhythm where every phase, whether you're fasting, whether you're eating, serves a purpose, and we understand the purpose, and that helps us to do what we need to do in that space. It's not a reset and a relapse, right? So when you're fasting, oh, I'm doing good because I'm fasting. Oh, this is great. Oh, man, look at this. I ate some cookies. No. It's a reset and a reinforcement system. And there are 4 phases of the metabolic loop, okay? So rest, the reset phase, right? The precision fueling phase, the stabilization phase, and of course the re-entry phase. And all of these are important. So we're going to spend some time talking about this loop and what are the different parts of it. We introduced this yesterday in our check-in. We're going to do some more in going through this process. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's start with the reset phase. And this is where we are fasting. And so fasting, I'm going to go through and talk about what are the benefits of fasting. And we've done shows where we talk about the different types of fast. We've done shows where we talk about which fast to do if you have a specific disease process that you're working on, right? So that was an interesting show. So those two, go back, and if you've not watched those yet, those are great ones for you to watch. So within fasting, when we start fasting, there are 3 things that we talk about when we talk about reversing diabetes. And these 3 things also are the things that happen in metabolism. Number 1, we decrease insulin. Number 2, we suppress the appetite. And number 3, we reduce sugar. Those are the pillars for reversing diabetes, and they are integral in our reversing or righting or getting our metabolism better. In the process, when we start fasting, blood sugars go down. Because blood sugar goes down, then insulin goes down, and that is the culprit. Insulin is the culprit. We burn fat during fasting. Glycogen goes away because the body stores about 100 grams of glycogen in the liver. Our ketones go up. Autophagy and repair begins. So once again, what we're doing is we're taking that house and we're going into the house and we're tearing out the wallpaper, and we're throwing out the old furniture. And we're tearing down some walls because we're going to put up new walls. We're moving some structures in there, right? We're putting up some more, or not putting up, but we're ripping out walls because we want to open up the space. So in fasting, that is what's going on. Insulin is going away. Fat is being burned, right? So we're getting rid of some of this storage stuff. We're taking this stuff out of the liver. Ketones are coming up because ketones are getting us ready for the process. Autophagy, repair is starting. So we're taking that old stuff and we're sending it to the recycling bin. And they're processing it over there and they're sending us back better material. Repair is activated. This happens, this reset phase, anywhere from 12 to 72 hours. So as we are starting to fast, as we are starting to not put food in, our insulin level goes down. And even when we talk about the postprandial period, right, that's the first 6 hours after we eat. During that process, our body is now taking the food and is shuffling it off to different places. Some of it is going to run your brain. Some of it is going to run your kidneys. Some of it is going to do different things in the body. If your body has excess, then it starts storing it in the liver, and then after that goes to the fat cells. Right? So that's the reset phase that happens. There's hormonal calibration that happens. Leptin, ghrelin, cortisol, all those hormones that are kind of fluctuating, that are dysregulated, during fasting, they start to align. This is where you clear the clutter, biochemically and behaviorally. So when we're talking about getting into the fast, how we get into the fast is very important. So the things that we eat getting into the fast, the last meal that we eat is very important. And if you've not seen our episode where we go through that process, you want to make sure that you do that, because that is a very important part of preparing for the fast. All right. So that last meal. The last meal, very important, because the things that you eat as you come into that fast will dictate what happens later on. So because your body has to process all of that. And if it has to spend time processing the things that you ate, if it has to spend time processing the the excess sugar, then you're spending less time actually in ketosis or less time in the fat burn. Okay? So we want to make sure that we're not derailing ourselves and causing problems because the foods that we're eating to get started are not in keeping with balanced bites. So let's throw balanced bites in here. So whole foods first. So if I have to make a choice about what I'm going to do, what I'm going to eat, then the first thing that I want to do is I want to prioritize whole foods. And whole foods are those things that are as close as possible to what they were like when they first came out of the ground, or they were first made. They were first grown. Okay, whole foods. If it comes out of the package, comes out of a can, right? It has a barcode on it, with a bunch of ingredients, then that's not whole foods. Okay, so preparing for the fast. And then the second phase of the loop, the metabolic loop, is the fuel phase. So we fasted, and now we're coming out of fasting, and we're going to fuel it. And you will see here in a minute, right? So I'm showing that again, the things that I'm eating, right? This is not refeeding in the old sense of reward eating. This is a precision fueling. So balanced bites, right? So minimizing sugar, minimize processing, high protein, high fats, or healthy fats, I should say. High fiber, low glycogen or glycemic index carbs. Whole foods. You're not reloading the system, you're rebuilding it. Sometimes we'll see, and this is a great point to make, sometimes we will think of the eating that we do after the fast as though, man, it's kind of like we have a tank, and we think that when we're fasting, we're emptying the tank. And so our goal when we start eating is to fill the tank up again. But that's not the idea. The idea is that we're taking the junk out. We're resetting the system. We've gutted the house. And now we're going back in and we're putting up different walls in different places, different furniture. We're using the empty room now to build the things that we want, and we're building strategically. That's why the refeeding is important. So that's the second part of it. And the things that we talked about breaking the fast, or starting the fast, the things that we eat as we are now getting ready to break the fast, those are important as well. Okay, so protein, right? Healthy fats, something that has a lot of fiber. So putting those together, perfect way to now talk about, okay, what are we going to do as we are beginning to rebuild? And that brings us to the third phase, which is the stabilization phase. So the things that we eat to end the fast. So we've reset, and now we're rebuilding, right? We ended the fast, and now what do we do? What do we do in the other times? Because you're not eating all the time. Well, we shouldn't be eating all the time, right? What we're doing is we're eating a meal, and then what do we do between the meals? Because we want glucose to stay stable. We want ketones to be present if we're doing ketogenic. We want to avoid, and let me plug this right here. There is no physiologic reason for snacking. There's no physiologic reason for grazing. There's no physiologic reason, unless you have a medical issue, for eating frequent small meals. The body doesn't need it. So the things that we're eating at our meals, if we do a good job of putting those together, whole foods, minimized processing, no added sugar, lean protein, healthy snack, healthy carbs, starchy and non-starchy, the appropriate portions, and flavorful and tasty. If we follow those, then the things that we're eating at a meal are going to be sufficient to sustain our body. If we don't follow that pattern, of course, we'll have deficiencies. So we won't eat as much protein as we need. We won't have as much healthy snacks as we need. We won't have the fiber that we need. So we'll have spikes in blood sugar that will cause cravings. And because of that, during the time when we're not eating, in between meals, then we'll start grazing. Then we'll start having times where we are saying, hey, I'm hungry. You're not hungry. Right? You're not hungry. It is a mind thing. And we want to get away from that. Remember the heat model. The heat model says that habits, emotions, access, and taste. Those are the reasons that we eat. And those are the reasons why we eat between meals. Okay? So this phase is where hormonal signals stay regulated. I want you to think about this. We're saying that we want insulin to go down. And when we're fasting, during the fasting process, insulin goes down. The first 12 hours or first 6 hours, the postprandial period, the body is sorting all the food, and all the food kind of goes to where it needs to go. And then the next 12 hours, we call it the early fasting stage. The body is now saying, okay, now I've come home. Think about going to the grocery store. You've come home and you've taken all the stuff you bought and you've put it in the cabinets, you put it in the refrigerator, you put it in the pantry, wherever you need, in the ice box, wherever you need to put it. Okay, you've done that. Now you're standing in the kitchen. You say, okay, now I need to cook. So what do? You go back to the cabinet. You pull out whatever you need from there. You go to the refrigerator. You get something out. You go to the pantry. You get something out. So what you've done is the stuff that's already sorted and already in the places, you're now going back and getting that, and you're using that now to start cooking. So that's the early fasting stage. That's up to 12 hours. The next 6 hours, right? So 12 to 18 hours. Your body is now burning up that stuff. You've cooked it, you've eaten it, you're eating it, and the blood sugars continue to go down, and insulin continues to go down as the blood sugar goes down. Because now we've gone to the liver, and we're using up the glycogen that's there, where we're burning that up, we're processing that, we're pulling that out. At about 24 hours, most of the glycogen is gone. And by 36 hours, it's gone. It's out of there. So when that happens, is only then that the body then turns to burning fat. But until the blood sugar gets better, and until the glycogen is gone from the liver, the body cannot go to burning fat because insulin is still high and your body still has access to food. It's kind of like being at your house, same scenario. You go grocery shopping, you come home, you put all the stuff in the different places, and you cook some food, and you have leftovers. You put the leftovers in the refrigerator, right? Well, you don't go back and start. Let's pick something. Let's say you made lasagna. I know it's high carbs. That's okay, but it's one of my favorite foods. So you made some lasagna, and you have leftovers. You put the lasagna in the refrigerator. Well, you don't make more lasagna until you've eaten out the lasagna that's in the refrigerator, or until it's been there so long you throw it away. But you don't make any more until the stuff that's there is gone. So your body doesn't go to fat burning until the energy that it has access to in the liver, in the bloodstream, goes away. And it's only then that it turns to burning the calories. Okay? So if you are eating between meals, say you ate breakfast, let's pick a number. Say you ate breakfast at 8 o'clock. And now it's 10 o'clock and you eat a snack. Well, during the process when you ate breakfast, right, the blood sugars went up and the body, remember it takes 6 hours, the body is now in the process of breaking that stuff up and putting it in the refrigerator. And then before it finishes putting it in the refrigerator, then you go out and you eat something, you buy some more food. Well, what does it have to do again? It has to now start again and starts to shuffle those and put it in the refrigerator. And then it's lunchtime now, 2 hours after that, and you eat again. So the hormones are constantly being dysregulated. So people say, oh, I'm a grazer. Well, being a grazer, that's what we're doing. We're keeping those hormones, we're keeping the cortisol, the insulin at a level that doesn't allow the body then to access fat burning. I want you to hear that. As long as insulin is high, your body will not go to fat oxidation. So when we talk about the fact that people say, oh, I'm eating frequent small meals so that it keeps my metabolism high, well, guess what? It's really not. Because all you're doing is you're maintaining a certain level of insulin, and as long as the insulin is there, it will not burn fat. So if you're trying to lose weight, and the process of your losing weight is, okay, I'm going to eat frequent small meals, you're gunking up the system. That's not how it works. So during this stabilization phase, what we want to do is we want the insulin as low as possible. We want those glucose to be stable as possible. We don't want to have big spikes. If you're doing a ketogenic diet, you want to make sure that you are doing things that keep the ketones going, because ketones are an indication that your body is still continuing to burn carbs or burn fat. So we want to avoid snacking. We avoid grazing. We're going to avoid the metabolic noise, because the other thing that does is when we're snacking, that insulin that's there, that has to be there for the snack, because most people, what do you snack on? Carbs, right? It's not like a piece of meat. And even then, well, that's a whole nother conversation, right? So we want to make sure that even in that space that we're doing balanced bites. And then the re-entry phase, right? Returning to the fast. So we fasted, so we got the reset, right? That's the first phase. Then we have the precision fueling phase. So we're putting what stuff we eat, balanced bites. And then it's in between the eating, right? That's the stabilization phase. And then now we're coming back around and we are returning to the fast. This is where the loop comes full circle. So your previous fueling sets you up for easier fast, because this is what's leading into the fast again. You get into ketosis more quickly. The brain says, okay, I like this. Your experience, right? Because you had a good experience, your experience now says, oh, I can do this. You get fewer hunger cues and fewer cravings. Your blood sugar doesn't spike as much. If your balanced bite is clean, then your next fast isn't a shock. It's a continuation. What's an example? I'm thinking of an example. It's kind of like, well, not kind of like. So what we want to do is the process of going from our quote unquote eating window into the fast, and from the fast to our eating window, we want that to just be a continuation. It shouldn't be a huge interruption. Right? Things that are continuation are easy to do, but if there's a big interruption, it's kind of like when I started doing videos. Okay, so this is a room here at our house, and when I first started doing videos, this was my office. Well, it still is my office, but I call it my studio now. And so what I would do is I wanted to make a video, and I would come in, and I would turn on the computers, and I would get my camera out, and I would put the camera on the tripod, and I'd put on the mic, and I'd get all the stuff ready, or get the lights out from the corner, put them up, and do, right? Well, that was great, but what happened is, when I thought about making a video, come on. When I thought about making a video, particularly if I had an interesting day or something else was going on, then my brain said to me, you know what? Let's not do that now. Let's do it tomorrow. Because you got to go set it up, you got to do the video, and when you finish, you got to take it down. Right? Because it was a big deal to just do one video. So what I did was, I said, no, we're not doing that. So now if you come into the studio, everything is here. So I walk into the studio, I may be out there, I may be in bed, y'all, and a thought hits me. And I'll come in here, I'll turn on the power, turn on the computers, the camera's there, and I start talking. I do my journal this way sometimes. Right? I just come in and say, okay, this is what's going through my head. Now notice the second process is an easier process than the first. And that is what the fasting, this is what the metabolic loop should be. This is what the fasting, reset, stabilization, right? Re-entry. That's what it should be, a continuous process that goes from one and flows into the next without a big interruption. And when we're able to do that, then we set ourselves up for huge, huge, huge benefits. So the re-entry phase, right? So the hunger pangs are better. So how does this loop help to reverse insulin resistance? Well, insulin resistance is not a glucose issue. It is a chronic overstimulation issue. Hear that again. So we probably should call insulin resistance, rather than insulin resistance, we probably should call it hyperinsulinemia. Hyper meaning too much insulin in the body, too much insulin in the blood. So the metabolic loop reduces meal frequency, right? So less insulin stimulation because we're fasting. It improves glucose uptake via those GLUT transporters that we talk about that are primed now to suck sugar up when you eat it. It has increased fat oxidation. So duration, both fasting and clean eating, right? So fat oxidation happens in both of those. So if we're fasting, definitely we have it. And if we're doing clean eating, because we're not having those big spikes in sugar, then we don't have as much insulin, and the body has to, by virtue of that, go to burn fat. That's why Balanced Bites helps weight loss. Because when we eat that way, come on now, come on. When we eat that way, the body doesn't have to treat high sugar with insulin, and because the insulin is lower, the possibility of starting to burn fat goes up. But as long as insulin is high, because of the things that we're eating, then the body doesn't go, even if I'm not fasting. Did you hear what I just said? Even if you're not fasting, if you're following Balanced Bites, because your insulin level is lower, the body will begin burning fat. Right? So the metabolic loop resensitizes your cells to insulin receptors. It trains your body to function on less insulin and respond more intelligently when insulin does arrive. Yeah? And that is the benefit, that is the virtue, that is the positive of the things that we're doing when we talk about metabolic improvement. That's the metabolic loop. It sets us up for success, the best possibility of success. And when you pair fasting with Balanced Bites, man, it is awesome in its ability to get you on track and to get you healthy. And that's part of the health action plan, the Limitless Living Health Action Plan, that says that, hey, here is a blueprint for me to follow so that I can set myself up for the best possibility of success. We'll continue talking about the health action plan and how it integrates into our general health and how we can reverse diabetes, improve blood pressure, improve cholesterol, lower our weight, help with fatty liver, help with polycystic ovarian syndrome, and all those things that are spectrum or diseases along the metabolic spectrum. You can do that if you follow the health action plan. And a big part of that is the pairing of fasting with the things that we eat during our eating window. We'll talk more about that in our next episode. All right. So that is an amazing process, right? The combination, of fasting with our with how we eat when we're not fasting. So let's go ahead and I'm going to pull up for you. This is what my blood sugars are right now. Okay, so this is what my blood sugars are right now. Let's do that. Boom. And let's go ahead and let's see what we've got. Again, for our meal, this is what it is. And I'm going to actually start by eating some. Here we go. Right, first bite, first bite. That's good. That's some tofu that my wife made. That's so good. And then, of course, salad. Man. Delicious. So for those of you who followed us this week, just drop in the chat what you broke your fast with. Didn't bring a napkin with me. So what did you break your fast with this week? Drop that in chat. Once again, so for breaking the fast, let's go through that again. So I love salads for breaking the fast. And actually I like salads for starting the fast, or the last meal before I fast, because it gives me bulk. It gives me fiber. Now let me show you. So here's my salad. Okay. So there's cheese in there. So that's my protein. And then of course I have some protein here as well. That's tofu. So it gives me protein. It gives me fat, my healthy fats. And then all of the lettuce and all the other things that you see in there give me bulk. And it gives me fiber. So that's one of the reasons that I love, salads as part of this. So I see Steve says that he had wings and steak tips, avocado, macadamia nuts, cup of unsweetened Jello. Okay, there you go. Love it. Wings, steak tips, avocado, nuts. So Steve, that's one of my meals. That looked exactly like something I would eat. Okay, let's go back up here. Let's see. Cornelia said, I do the same thing, Anthony. I think she was talking about starting the fast at nighttime. Either that or learning not to eat at night. And then Anthony said, preach. Steve says, great minds think alike. Honored to be in the company, Steve. Okay, this is so good, y'all. Lettuce, tomato, well, no tomatoes in this. Red cabbage, cheese. And I don't have any nuts today. Almonds, so also there's some carrots in here. Almonds, cashews, all of those are Okay, I think I'm gonna stop there with the salad. And then I'll get to this. That's so good. Okay. So you guys got to see some of that. And so here's the thing. Let's go back to this. Here's my salad, right? So it's almost gone. A few more pieces in there. But I'm already feeling full. So the reason that I eat the salad first is because it helps me have some control over the rest of my eating. Because if not, then I will, me personally, I will eat a lot more than I normally would eat. So as you are, and we've not talked yet about the timing of food. Okay? So what I would recommend, as you are thinking and you're putting your meal together, don't let it be just random. Right? I deliberately think about the things I'm going to eat. And the timing that you eat things in is also important. Often we gravitate to the sweet stuff and the carbs first. What you want to do is, in my case, I'm eating the fiber, I'm eating the bulk first. So I feel full. Okay? I feel full, and so I'm pausing and I'm waiting because it takes about 20 minutes for the signal to get to my brain. So I'm eating the bulk. The signal is going to take time to get to my brain. But when I start eating, if I'm eating more carby things, the stuff I've already eaten is going to blunt the absorption of the carbs that I'm eating. Right? So that's the first thing. When I'm breaking my fast, notice what I'm breaking the fast with. I'm not breaking it with highly processed, highly sugary things. I'm breaking it with balanced bites. There it is, Balanced Bites. And I'm breaking it with minimal starchy carbs. Why is that? Because I don't want to initially undo the things I just did in my fast. Right? I didn't want to do that. So I'm eating this now. Later on, and I'm not sure. And I guess let me say this as well. So I typically will do one meal a day. When I do my eating, I will typically do one meal a day. Now, there are special occasions that happen. There are birthdays, there are anniversaries, there are holidays, and so on those days, I may eat a little differently. So I may not do one meal a day. But what I try to do is, even when I'm not doing one meal a day, I'll do a small, like when we were in Paris, right? And we had breakfast one day. So I did a very small breakfast, and then I had my quote unquote one meal a day kind of meal later on, making that a little smaller than I normally would. So you can do that in lots of different ways in terms of your eating window, but you want to make sure that you do have a plan for how you're going to eat. And that's what the Balanced Bites gives you, is a framework to think about the food that you're eating in your eating window. All right, so let's go. All right. Love it, tastes so good. All right, so for everyone that's there, I want you to always remember what our premise is, what our plan is. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. Our education is the things that you see us doing on the show. It is the mindset. It is the thought process that goes into thinking about our health. It is the thought process that goes into the domains of health. When we did the series on the domains of health, the 8 domains of health, right? Physical, mental, emotional, relational, spiritual, occupational, intellectual, all of those. Making sure that you understand how all of those things affect health. Because if you do that, right, remember the health action, the limitless living assessment, you want to make sure that you're going through that assessment to make sure that you are looking at all areas of your life. And then begin looking at each one and say, okay, how do I make that better? How to make that better? Because if your wheel, right, if your wheel is not turning well, then it's lopsided, then it's causing problems downstream. So we educate. What's the mindset? A growth mindset. How do we think about ourselves? What are the things that are going on in my body so that you understand? Giving you enough information now to make decisions on your own. And then we empower. We empower with the tools, right? The 100-day walk to consistency, strength, strategy, and mindset, which is the series that's going on right now. Our fasting that we're doing right now, the health action plan. All of those are tools for you to begin now to put into practice, practical things that you can do that now implements the things that we're learning. And then we encourage with the community, amazing community that we have, who are here showing what's going on in their lives. You're seeing the successes, you're hearing what they're having, you're hearing the challenges that they're having, opinions and comments and advice. All of that is community. Community is so important. We don't think enough about community. We try to do things by ourselves. And I tell you, you can, right? You can be very successful. But if you want to be successful long term, oh yeah, get into community. So we educate, we empower, and we encourage. That's our platform. That's how we do things. And everything that you see us do is couched in that platform and in the things that we do. I'm so always excited to be here with you. We will be back tomorrow night for a video from the vault at 9 p.m. Central. Tomorrow, Sunday morning at 6 a.m. This Week in Review. And then on Monday, we'll be back for Dwain Woode MD Live at 7 p.m. Central as we continue our walk in the quest, right, of reversing our diabetes and righting our metabolism. If you're available tomorrow, I don't know, around 10, 11 o'clock, 11, 12 o'clock, I'll be speaking at the Birmingham Ephesus Church in Birmingham, Alabama. It's Men's Day, so if you're out there, come join us. If you can't be in Birmingham or in the area, they should be streaming it on their platform. So join us for that. We're going to have a good time with the guys down there. Anyway, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted, and we are living limitless lives. That says that we're not allowing anything from outside or anything from inside to prevent us from doing what we need to do. We are presenting our best self, our best health, and our best plans for our lives. So go live a limitless life, and we'll see you at our next episode. Goodbye, everybody. Have a great weekend.